Yes, sir.
This call is now being recorded.
Well, still opening. Oh, okay. So let's start our discussion. Okay. So we'll talk about public choice. So well, I'll, I'll check what's wrong with the PowerPoint. Anyway, we'll just have this. We have this one. Okay. Anyway, you can still view using um, a small screen. Okay. So what is a public choice or a theory itself? A public choice or theory is a branch of economic that deals with the development from the study of taxation, public spending. It emerged in the 50s and received widespread public attention in 1986. Was developed by economist James Buchanan. Okay, in his book entitled The Calculus of Consent, a seminal book he co-authored with Gordon Tullock in 1964. So, what is a public choice? It's a political science influenced by economic way of thinking. So, in other words, when you say public choice, these are actually influential in politics. Okay, so although there are things that you want to do, but because the people wanted it this way, so you have to give in to the demands of the people. Otherwise, you lose your career as a politician if you defy the choice of the public. Okay, as with political science, public choice attempts to understand how public policies came to be adopted and what the influence of different institutions are on political process. So normally, when you want, when people want a change, what they're going to do is they lobby. Okay, lobby meaning they go to Congress to pass a law um, that will address perhaps the problem that they want to solve. Okay, so if there are problems, for example, in mining, then you can go to Congress, lobby it to pass a law protecting nature. Okay, lobbying simply means spelling is LOBBY. Simply means that you have to pursue a, a the one that you want to be done through a passage of a law. Okay, so you lobby it. Okay, so that's why there will be laws later on crafted based on what you lobbied. Okay, normally these are a group of people. We call themselves as lobbyists. Okay, just change Y into IST S, and then these are a group of people who want a certain change through a cause. So these are called sometimes a, these are a group of people. Okay, for a certain it could be an NGO, okay, or non-government organization with a certain idealism. Okay, so public choice approaches typical assume self-interest and national rational actors, and the goal is to find an equilibrium given these assumptions. Okay, both the self-interest, rational act assumed may be moderated in specific settings. So although you have your own personal interests, but that can be sacrificed if it will be for the greater good. Okay, so this, you can see this one in politics. Like for example, the president, how he should decide on a certain item, certain matters. Should he exercises control over the executive branch, like for example, legislative branch? For example, if congressman commits a graft and corruption, okay, and why is the president just lately announced that he has no power because of the separation of the three branches? Okay, the executive branch should not touch or deal with the legislative branch. Okay, so well, it's, although you can do it because there are instances when the president perhaps even interfere, such like the prosecution of Dilima, Senator Ilela Dilima, who is a senator belonging to the legislative branch. Okay, he was able to do so with no reason why he cannot do that with members of Congress. So how he should decide is that detaching himself from the prosecution of this alleged congressman, well, it's a political choice. Okay, so you sometimes sacrifice your personal interest with what probably be the greater majority or the decision of a political party. Otherwise, you lose your career as a president if you lose if later on this congressman will transfer to a different party. Now, public choice theory argues that economic interest is the driving force of politics. Okay, so well, I keep on telling this one. The reason why politicians sometimes, most of them, goes into politics, okay, spend money during election, is, well, basically protect the business of their friends or their own business. Okay, name those politicians who has no business in their place. Okay, only very few. Okay, most of them they are in politics because they wanted to protect the business of their family or their own business, because you will get permit from the mayor. Okay, so that is why I think the very important change that should be done is to really empower the barangay chairman. Why? Because the barangay chairman, these are the people that we know because they are our neighbors and we know their character. Unlike the mayor, we don't even know them because they live in a different barangay. Okay, and yet the power given to that is very it's enormous. Okay, like approval of a business, which sometimes make or unmake um, a businessman. Okay, really depend on the signature of the mayor. Otherwise, the business will not be approved or will not be renewed. Okay, so that is the beauty of being a politician. So sometimes when you decide certain items, you have to really think of the consequences. You might offend a friend, but well, let's, if you can do that, even if it can offend a friend or the one who helps you during election, who sponsor your in buying votes, the buying votes of the citizen, well, that could be heroic, but only few people will do that. Okay, few politicians will do that. They normally please the people that give them or make them win in the position. Okay, so it's really difficult to make a choice if you are a politician, because sometimes later on, okay, this will make your friend an enemy. Okay, like for example, if your friend has a case, okay, so you have the power then to really prosecute, such as the filing of a complaint, or should you pursue, because it will be now under the of course courtesy of the mayor or punong barangay. People will vote for a candidate that they believe is going to give them the greatest access, okay, to more money. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. They will not think whether in reality whether you are good or bad. They always think of whether this man can bring me money. Okay, well, that is how it works, but that is not really good. But that's the reality, I tell you. Okay, so if you are a businessman, you will always give your support to a candidate that can make you rich. Okay, so who are these people? Normally, these are owners of big corporations, but you can see them being involved in politics. In what way? They support politician. Okay, like, well, I will not mention here because this will be recorded later on, and they might be listening to my discussion, but I will not mention names. But that's how it works. That's the reality. Okay, so even in local elections, they always see what's the decision, or what's your stand on a certain item. Okay, so by then the businessman knew whether you are pro or against your business. If you're planning a business, then testing the water, like asking a question on what's their stand on certain items that which is related to your business, you will know whether he will be of he needs support from you or not. Okay, of course, you will only support those candidates that can make you. I hope I am clear on this matter. Am I clear? Are you around?
Yes, sir.
Oh yeah. So you tell me because I I'm thinking that I am lost in the air. Okay, if you will not answer my question right away. Okay, so this way I'm checking whether my camera is still on. Okay, so I'm still on the air. Let's proceed now. So, but did you understand what I'm talking about? Clarora, did you understand? Si Kwan, kasi may, I'm going to call if you're around, volunteer. If is it clear? Si Balmores, are you around? Balmores, oh, si Limosnero, are you around? Are you still there?
Yes, sir.
Ah,
Search.
okay.
Choppy ka, sir.
Sabi ka. Okay, anyway. So, let's proceed. Now, what is public choice? Okay, a central to the idea of public choice is that everyone is modeled similarly. Okay, we assume that voters, politicians, bureaucrats, just like consumers, entrepreneurs, managers, act in their self-interest. Okay, so if you are a politician, you have to make a survey. Okay? Tanawin mo, you have to see to it whether these people, okay, will be on your side. Okay? And then you decide on things that you think this is what they like. Because if your decision is not as what they think, then certainly you will lose them as your voters. That's how it works. You cannot just simply decide on certain matters. That's why a good politician must be very careful in uttering a word. Okay, because every word that they utter, voters, consumers, or even managers always think of the possibility that they may have their own interest, or they will benefit from your decision. Okay, because if you decide on what they dislike, eventually they will not vote for you during election. So that's why most politicians who are good at public choice, okay, they always choose on the choice of the public. Okay, if this is what the public decides this is what they like, then you go to it. You claim that it is also your like. Okay, because if you decide otherwise, then eventually you will you will not win their heart. Okay, now that's why in some projects there's always a consultation. Okay, we call it a public hearing. Okay, they will decide based on the effects of the project. Self-interest does not necessarily mean greedy or materialistic. Okay, example: politicians vote, as both maximizers. So if this a certain issue, although good, but it may not gain popularity at all, then you perhaps sacrifice it. Okay, so self-interest does not necessarily mean being greedy or materialistic. Now, why study public choice? Understand government behavior both in democracies and non-democracies. Okay, better understand the consequence of the government's behavior. Why do some countries failure to grow? It better design a constitutions. What does this mean? Okay, so you have to understand how democracy, meaning that people decide for the country, and demo people crushing meaning to rule. It is ruled by the people, but since our country is a republican and democratic, so we chose only representative, and the representative will decide based on what he represents. The decision of what his constituents decide. Okay, better understand the consequences of government behavior. Now, based on the public choice, then you can come up with a constitution. Okay, that's why in the preamble we have it's the will of the people. It's their public choice actually that they want a constitution which is um, peaceful community through the statement of the preamble. Okay, so if you recall, the content of the preamble is we, the sovereign Filipino people, imploring the aid of Almighty God in order to build a just and human society, establish a government that shall embody our ideals and aspirations, promote the common good, conserve and develop our patrimony, and secure to ourselves and prosperity, the posterity, the blessing of independence and democracy under the rule of law, a regime of truth, justice, freedom, love, equality, and peace, do ordain to promote and promulgate this constitution. That is what the people like. Okay, that is their public choice. That's why the constitution itself embodies that preamble, because that is the choice of the people after martial law. Okay, so they wanted to change it. That's why the president at the time was very famous, because she was able to address the need of the people by coming up with a constitution that is more relevant. Okay, a society where everybody enjoys peace and order. Now, the rational ignorance, does it matter? Okay, the miracle of aggregation. Social scientists agree that voters know little about politics and economics. Okay, but some deny that it matters. Okay, so does it really matter? Okay, although people, the voters, may not be well versed in politics. Okay, what they know perhaps is it they only vote if the politician give them a higher amount of money. But this decision actually of the politician would make or unmake the the voters. Okay, if voters errors are random, okay, basic statistics says they tend to cancel out, leaving the well informed in charge. Okay, example, suppose 90% know zero and only 10% know everything. Okay, which candidate wins? Okay, So the majority. So that's why in politics they always campaign, okay, and then show their platform, because even if you are knowledgeable, you are brilliant, but if you're being brilliant and being good manager of the government, but if it is not known to the voters, eventually you will, certainly you will not win. Okay. So whoever has the support of the majority of the well informed. Okay. Okay. If it seems too good to be true. Okay. So what does that mean? Well, apply this in life. So if people will say they know everything, well, that's too good to be true. Okay, it's impossible. Do not believe it. It's a lie. Okay, there are people in my experience who it seems that he is the God who knows everything. He has millions, but people talking to you like this, it's too good to be true. And if it's too good to be true, don't believe in me. After all, it's just a lie. Okay, so I've experienced many times. Okay, people are so arrogant, and then all of a sudden you realize that it's impossible to believe. So that's the meaning of it seems too good to be true. Okay, so apply it in life. There are many people who will say he knows everything, then he has millions. He brags himself. Well, if the real rich people will not tell you that. That's why it's too good to be true. So it's a lie. So don't believe those people who will be telling you everything. Now the key assumption of the miracle is the errors is that errors are random around the truth, not systematic. Okay, but rational ignorance changes what information gets to voters who is informed and uninformed with systematic effects on political outcomes. Okay, so well, basically this applies in election. Okay, we don't really care of whether this man is um, good or bad. Okay? What matter is whether this person is the one who helps your relatives or members of the family to be appointed and has a permanent position in government. Okay, well that's the reality. Okay, we always support a candidate that makes your parents perhaps work in government. Now I will be asking you later on the next slide to explain, okay, to prove that you are still around. Okay, how about that one? Can you read? Read. Everybody read. Ano nag-video key? May gidangat yun. Nagklase na nag-video key. Okay, can you read? Everybody?
Sir, wala mi nakita nga slide nga gi-share, sir.
Oh, gani. You didn't tell me. Gani ah. Oh my God, you didn't tell me that I do not have slide. Well, so all the while you we were discussing without a slide. Anyway. Can you read that?
Political campaigns will be based on the hoopla, symbolism, and trivia, not on serious, substantive discussions of the issues. Parties will work to build brands like family values, tough on defense, much like Coke and Pepsi, and regardless of reality.
Yeah,
Mana sir?
yeah, that's how it works in politics. Okay, so sometimes the good people, the knowledgeable may not win. Okay, why? Because it's during political campaigns based on hopla. It's more on what you advertise. Okay, on symbolism and a trivia. Yeah, that's why they make a gesture. Okay, like Duterte, it's a fist. Okay, a symbol of what being tough, that he's going to kill the drug lords. Okay, if you are bad, then you should be killed. It shows fist and the color as well. Okay, for blind people, okay, they may a long time ago the color before like yellow, green, which is used by political party, originates from the idea that we should not disenfranchise the blind or the deaf mute to cast their vote. That's why colors are enough to represent a political party. Now, some okay, so it's not really serious. Okay, substantive uh, discussion of the issue. Okay, which is why in my writing, okay, I really emphasize in my publications that people should the COMELEC should perhaps give time for candidate to let them express themselves. Okay, perhaps it's an opportunity for the voters to know who are the candidates that they are voting during election. Because if you only surveyed people, if they really know the people that they voted, I tell you, you will be shocked. Most of them do not know the real characteristic of the person they voted. Okay, so perhaps the only avenue for them so that people will know the background, the life, or the achievements of the candidate is for the COMELEC to give them a time to to express themselves. Okay, just like in United States of America, they have a grand debate. Okay, so before the people will cast their vote, there will be several debate. Okay, so by then you will know who are those people running in the office are brilliant. Okay, parties will work to build brands like family values. Okay, tough on defense. Okay, much like Coke and Pepsi, regardless of their realities. Sometimes the advertisement appear to be true, but in reality, it's not. Okay, so having it in mind, like Coke and Pepsi, when you can see this in the television, seeing people drinking Coke with much pleasure upon drinking, then eventually you will like it. Okay, that's how to form as well a brand. So that concept will appear in your mind that indeed this is the candidate values because it actually creates an idea in your mind so that you will not forget. Just like watching an NBA, they will you can if you notice, most of the time they will say, "I love this game," so that your mind will eventually be trained to love that game even if you don't really love it. Okay. Now, okay, rational ignorance. What does that mean? Okay, rational ignorance exists when the benefits of being informed are less. Okay, less than the cost of being informed. Okay, so the benefit of being informed, kung gusto ka, if you really, the benefit of knowing is less compared to the cost of being informed. Example, voters are rationally ignorant about politics. Okay, the incentives is to be informed are low. Okay, ignorance about political matters is important, okay, for three reasons. One, okay, ignorance makes it difficult to make informed choices. Okay, so that is why really it's important that they should be acquainted with the candidate that they should be voting later on. Ignorance can lead to bad policy. Okay, like for example, if you were able to vote, you both a candidate and eventually wins in the election, but he's ignorant. He doesn't even know how to make a policy. Okay? In what way? Like, for example, if the punong barangay is ignorant of the constitution, which is very important because you cannot make an ordinance that you're going to approve later, okay? Or because punong barangay sits with the council, if you don't know the constitution, then you will be making a, a law or an ordinance that is contrary to the constitution. And what is the effect? It is as if you do not make a law. Why? Because it's contrary to the constitution, and we know for a fact that if the ordinance is contrary to the constitution, it is not effective. Okay. Now, not everyone is rationally ignorant. Okay. Now, from rational ignorance to rational irrationality, we all have the ideas about ourselves that we like to tell. Okay, but in order in ordinary markets, these ideas press up against reality. Okay. Example, we have A removes the cost of experiencing our ideas about ourselves. Okay. Removes the cost of expressing our ideas about ourselves. Okay. Why? Because, well, sometimes we only vote a candidate that is based on the money that we receive from them. Okay. The quantity demanded, okay, of a good increases the lower price. Thus, we are likely to be more charitable when voting than giving personal donations. So we are likely to be more charitable when voting than we giving personal donations. So we go to the price of irrationality. Okay. So as you can see at the left, we have the price of irrationality. And then in the bottom, we have quantity of irrationality. Okay. So think of irrationality as a good, comparing it to the law of supply and demand. Okay. The irrationality as the good. Where can you find it? At the, okay, the price is at the left, the quantity is at the bottom. Now, that we use to protect our confronting beliefs from reality. Okay, put Q on the horizontal axis and P, okay, on vertical axis. Okay, if you recall your class in economics, this is how it works. Okay, the quantity and the price. So this is Q. This one at the left is your price. Some errors are costly. Okay, others aren't. Now, if you are ignorant, okay, so the price of knowing it is really high. The consequence, meaning the damage of to economy is really great if you do not know the politicians that you voted. Okay, so if you commit that mistake, the effect to economy is really costly. In areas like religion, philosophy, and politics, errors are basically free. Okay, so as the implicit price of irrationality falls, the quantity of irrationality consumed rises. So this is like supply and demand. So what we are measuring here is the price of irrationality. So the price of irrationality falls, the quantity of irrationality consumed rises. Okay, this is the inverse proportion of this, like supply and demand. Once the price is high, the supply is high, then the price or the demand will be less because no one will buy for a product which price is very high. They always go to a lower price. So that's why we come up with the price, which is the meeting point. So this is an inverse relation of the price of irrationality. Now, what is a public choice theory? Okay, so all your life you've been taught, okay, this is how we elect, right? Okay, sometimes it doesn't really matter the candidate, but what matters is the money that they give, which we cannot, we feel um, we will be bothered by our conscience if we will not vote for the candidate that gave us money. A democratic government tried to improve society. Okay, so that's why there's always an election. A responsible electorate can toss bombs out. Poor leadership is to blame for a political apathy when you are not, when we do not vote anymore, when you feel that, you know, election is like, it's like it's just a place when where people just give money. So what will happen? People will not vote anymore. That's what I'm doing right now. But it's actually an offense if you will not cast your vote. But upon seeing these people, you know, they just vote, they just buy our vote, which, you know, it's degrading. It's as if you live with the money that they give. You should vote and participate in a political process. Okay? So public choice economists say all this good government stuff is bunk. So it's actually good government comes from a good politics or politician. Okay, except the extreme factions, there's no difference between the political parties. Well, do you really think that political parties would matter? Do you think that political party which is liberal, they always advocate their ideology of being liberal, meaning giving you more freedom? No, they, it's no longer significant. The color, the party is not significant. What matters is the candidate that represent the party. Okay, the people will always choose the candidate, not the not the party where he belongs. People voted for Duterte not because of the PDP Laban. Okay, it's not significant. We don't even care what does that mean when they say PDP Laban or liberal party or yellow. We don't even care. What matters is the president that represent the party. Now, special interest will prevail over public interest. Okay, is it true? Is it true? Okay, I'm asking you whether is it really true and why. Anybody? Anybody from the class? Are you still around? Ah. So what matters is not really um, the underground decision of the politician. It's not sometimes the public interest. Although in reality, in what appears to the public is that is what he likes, but deep down, perhaps in the application of some documents, it what matters is his special interest. That it's not about public interest. Yes, you can actually win in the election by making it appear that you like the public interest. Okay, you like what the people like. Okay, you can make it appear that it is like that. But the reality is that when you sign documents, you will not approve perhaps what you decide, or there are, let's say there are application that is in line with what you said, because this is what the people like. But when there are applications, for example, of let us say mining, okay, you approve. But what you project in the public is that you don't like destruction in the environment. But in reality, when you sign application for mining, for example, you approve. Okay. Okay. So my discussions stopped because of the internet connection. Okay. So I'll continue. I still have 30 more minutes. Do you understand what I'm talking?
Yes, sir.
Okay. But before we okay, so I'll stop recording now. I'll